Yeah, I think the nostalgia factor too with like new metal, how, I was right at the prime of it. I was like, 14, 15, 16, teenage years when it was at the height of it. And it was the genre that got me into like more extreme stuff for sure later on. And, when you're a teenager, every teenager feels like their life fucking sucks, and like nobody gets them. And like I'm an outcast. My own parents don't understand, like, edgy. I think the nostalgia factor of like doing this style of music brought that memory to me of how it made me feel when I discovered the bands that were doing it. And it made me feel good and positive and better. And it gave me like ambitions and dreams for the future. So it's like, if you're going to do this genre of music, you should follow that sentiment.
Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians, talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. Hope you had a killer weekend. I most certainly did. This Vox and Hops episode is presented by Heavy Montreal. Heavy Montreal are Montreal's premier metal promoter, and if you are ever in Montreal and you are looking for a great show to go to, well, trust me, Heavy Montreal will have you covered. They put on a bunch of amazing gigs all year long, so trust me, if you're looking for something cool to do when you're visiting Montreal, Heavy Montreal will have you covered. I'm beyond stoked to have Heavy Montreal behind the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. Are you in a band? Would you love to have your band's song featured in an upcoming Vox and Hops episode? If that would be the case, then you should definitely send me a message, write me an email. You can do that by hitting up matt@voxandhops.com. That's MATT at VOXANDHOPS.com. Send me a message and I will hook you up and I will tell you all about being a part of the Vox and Hops Artist Spotlight segment. I love doing this. I love shining some light on killer bands. If you're in a band, you're launching a brand new song, you want to get a little bit more exposure for it, well, the Vox and Hops Artist Spotlight is there for you to do exactly that. Now, before we jump into today's episode, I'd just like to ask you to follow the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I would love for you to tell a friend about the podcast. If there's someone in your life that just loves new metal, this whole new metal revival, well, you should definitely let them know that the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast exists. You could tell them that there are over 400 episodes where I sit down with some of the world's best metal musicians to talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you would encourage one of your new metal loving friends to become a brand new Vox and Hops head, that would be something that I would truly appreciate. Now, today on the podcast, I'm very stoked to be back with Vicky Psarakis and for the first time with Robby J to talk about their project Sicksense. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox and Hops episode number 419.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
What's up, everyone? Today I'm very, very, very stoked to be with two old friends who happen to be in Montreal for two shows at Turbo House. I jumped at the opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation. Vicky Psarakis, Robby J of Sicksense. How are you guys doing? We are at La Mer à Boire. You can hear the background noise. It's going to be an episode like that. Old school Vox and Hops. In the flesh, no computer screens, just the way it was meant to be. I love it. Robby, Vicky, how you guys doing?
Good.
Great. Very tired. It's been busy since we got here.
Yes, we actually, so Matt hit us up yesterday. Was it yesterday?
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, and this was like probably the only time we could fit this in, and we just finished rehearsing. So we're exhausted, but it's a good exhausted,
Yeah, I even did a music video shoot with Chris Kells last night and Deli the Bear. So, yeah, it's been busy.
Hell yes, I love it. I love it. I'm so stoked that you're in town, that you chose Montreal for the launch. Let's call it a launch for the live performance, first live performance of Sicksense. Let's tackle that first. Why Montreal? Why did you come back here? You guys recently relocated to Arizona from Chicago. Talk to me about coming back to Montreal and choosing Montreal at Turbo House, which I love, to be the first place that Sicksense plays live.
I mean, it's an obvious choice.
Yeah, it's really, the band started in Montreal. Some of the members, Branislav and I, are from here. We're the Montrealers in the band, so we did all our band business here. We recorded both EPs here with Christian Donaldson.
Long history of friends, just people we've met. Also, like, Sam is from Quebec City, so, like, close enough, you know. And for the gigs, we got Justin, a replacement drummer who is also from here. Oh, yes, he's extraordinary.
Justin from Immortal Guardian.
Yes.
And history of flying objects as well.
Yeah, so Justin was like an obvious choice because he always liked what we were doing with Sicksense I, and just been following us since the beginning. And we shared a jam space with them, so it's like, well, you want to do this? Sure, fine. And
At least his drums are all in one place.
yes.
It makes it easy, but it's also like the end of an era for us. Like with these two EPs, we actually recorded them a while ago.
I know.
And they're finally coming out now. They came out Kings Today last year in 2022, and now Fools Tomorrow is coming out on June 11th. So it's like an end of an era, and we're wrapping up, and we do want to bring the rest of the band to Phoenix, Arizona, actually. We're planning to relocate, so.
Oh, shit. This is like a big step, big commitment, diving in. Let's rewind a little bit, though. This is the Vox&Hops. Vox&Hops is all about hanging out with my metal friends, talking about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. We are at La Mer à Boire on St. Denis Street in Montreal, one of my favorite craft beer places, a classic place. I was just hanging out with the owner, who's sitting literally right behind us right now. They've been doing this forever. So what are we drinking? I'm drinking their Černá classic Czech Pilsner. What do you guys got?
I think the Drak.
The Drak. Yes, it sounds metal.
It does.
I
It's
like
good.
It
I like
sounds
it.
very metal.
And I got the Müesli Oatmeal Stout.
Hell fucking yes. It's one of my favorite places. Anytime I'm around, I pop in, I leave with some cans. I am most probably going to do that after this tonight, for sure. I appreciate you guys coming here and hanging out with me. I know we've had you on the podcast twice before, but I've never had Robby on the podcast, so this is a exclusive Robby question. Robby, what is your very first beer experience? What was your very first beer?
Oh, honestly, my first beer experience, I can remember it. It was my mother would drink Coors Light. So I had a Coors Light. That was my first beer. Did not like it. Didn't understand the hype. But then, meeting Vicky and the
How
Agonist
old were
people.
you?
Oh, well, I was like probably young, 14, 13
So your
or
mom
whatever.
was like, here's a beer, son.
You're a man
Something
now.
like
You're
that.
a man.
Something like that.
Now take the garbage out.
But then I met fine people like you who refined my taste in craft beer, and that's when I started getting into drinking craft beers.
Hell yes, it's an evolution. First time I heard Cryptopsy, I did not like it. It took me time to get more acquainted to the finer things in life, such as craft beer and extreme metal. They go hand in hand. You need to acclimate your palate.
Yeah.
It's an important thing to do. Now, I know Christian Donaldson recorded your material. We were on tour 2019, and he was like showing me Sicksense stuff, or stuff that would become
Nice.
Sicksense. So you guys have been holding on to this material for so long, and a lot of people might think that you are sort of like right in the perfect trends of the return of nu metal.
Yeah.
But it's not true. You were still avant-garde about it. You were, this is 4 years old, that some of the material
Yes.
that you're
Yeah.
releasing now on Fools Tomorrow, Kings Today. So talk to me about the return of nu metal, why a nu metal band, and why were you doing it in 2019? And that means you were doing it even before that.
Well, it actually started off with Bran and his previous band, Keychain. So Bran and Cody, who are in Sicksense, they had this other band called Keychain, and they were blatantly nu metal. That's what they were about. And then they parted ways with their former singer, JP. He left the band, and they were looking to audition somebody else. So I actually auditioned, and then Bran brought up the idea. He liked what I was doing vocally and lyrically with my screams and my rapping, but he was like, I want to include singing. So he's like, what do you think about incorporating a second vocalist into the band? And I'm like, sure, no problem. I think I have the perfect one right here, and my wife, Vicky, and let's see if she's into this and wants to do it. And then the rest was history. We started doing the demos and took off from there.
It just kind of happened organically. He would just send instrumentals our way, and we would co-write. I mean, in the beginning, Robby wrote most of the lyrics, and I wrote all my vocal melodies and stuff like that, but then it started becoming more like 50-50, more of a collaboration. And I don't think, we weren't like, yeah, we got to do a nu metal band. It's just normal because it's like you put all these individuals together. You have a track that's like groovy, which is all of nu metal, really. And then you have a singer and a rapper, and they can both scream. So, of course, it's going to have that nu metal flair, but it wasn't like before this started that I think either of us had a deep longing, like, we're going to do new metal, we're going to bring it back. I think it just happened organically.
I don't know how it turned out this way, because I was always like, I'm a rapper, but I also did metal vocals. But initially, I didn't ever even want to incorporate rapping into metal. I wanted to keep it separate. I actually wanted to just do like hip-hop stuff, keep the rapping there, and do metal like with strictly screaming vocals. But for one reason or another, my career like started with like, boom, my first original band was a new metal-y rap metal band, and it just picked off from there, and I've always been the new metal rap metal guy since. So
do you feel typecast a little bit? You're talking about Hasta de la Muerte, am I correct there? Because that's how I first discovered you, and I was like, what is this fucking band and who is this guy? Because you're very proficient in both the rap and an excellent harsh vocalist. So
thank you.
I was like, who is this guy? It's just like me. No.
Exactly.
Except he stayed skinny. But
yeah. It just happened from there. I joined Hasta la Muerte. We put out a couple songs, and immediately I joined Stuck Mojo, which is an old school rap metal band, and I became that guy. That became my niche, so to speak. And
I think it's normal though, because it's like your whole environment is metal musicians. Always was metal musicians. So it's like when you join a band, usually people, as a vocalist, people are like, okay, what's your skill set? Oh, you can do this and this. Well, if you can rap, we're gonna do that. We're gonna incorporate it.
Totally utilize it.
Yeah. Like,
one day you'll have to challenge yourself to join a band. They're like, you're gonna do this, and they're like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. I don't know what that would be like, honestly, like joining a band and knowing you can do more, but you don't. You know what I mean? I know some people are like that. Some bands are like that.
I have a topic that I will broach with you later.
Yes.
Exactly about that for you specifically, but we're going to hold off on that. So at first it was Robbie's project, Sicksense. And then you were going to just contribute clean vocals to some stuff. And then more and more you found yourself becoming more entwined in it. How did that happen? It obviously happens naturally, but there's always like a thought process and something that sort of happens, or like a aha moment that I'm going to invest more time into this band.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just the songwriting. The more songs we were writing, the better they were sounding. I think the tricky part was that a lot of the instrumentals that Bran had sent us in the beginning, he had those from a while back for Keychain. And so he didn't write them with us in mind. He wrote them for Keychain with the vocalist he had at the time. So, those songs are on these 2 EPs that we released, of course, but they were really exciting to work with. And I was really digging it, but like I didn't see at the time like where this could go. But then we kept writing new songs, and then Bran eventually wrote newer songs with us in mind. He's like, wait, now I have this guy that can do that. I have Vicky that can do that. Let me write a little more differently, I guess. And hearing those songs and working on those songs and collaborating with Robbie, it just started feeling like this is something really cool that nobody else is really doing right now. And, you know, for me, for the last, I don't know, many, many years, I've just been full-time with music. So it was a no-brainer, because I'm like, I don't have a day job. I'm only doing music. I can do whatever I want and fill up my time. Because, you know, not to derail the conversation, but at the time, you know, I was in the Agonist, I was doing covers, I was doing a lot of things, but it's easy to do when you're full-time, you know, because I don't come home from work 5 p.m. exhausted. I can only choose, you know, one thing to do. So I was like, this is really cool. The music's awesome. We're doing something unique. So why the hell not?
We are at La Mag à Boire, everyone, and they're having a good-ass time, and so are we. It is true that if you are a full-time musician, there's no excuse but to be a full-time musician and put the work in. So why not do something extra, something outside your comfort zone, hypothetically?
Yeah.
With Branislav writing songs catered to you, with much more open choruses, I imagine, to let you soar, which you did do on Kings Today, and the new material that I've heard on the singles that have dropped. Catchy-ass chorus, the hook master. What goes into writing hooks? I asked Carson Pace of the Callous Boys this question, creating hooks. How much time goes into that? There must be moments moments that you just know this is it.
Yeah.
And other times it's more of a challenge to find something that fits.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that Chester from Linkin Park, for Somewhere Where I Belong, wrote like 20 choruses until he finally fucking hit that hit one.
Yeah, sometimes, so Robbie probably can confirm this, on all the songs we've written, most of the times it's been pretty instantaneous.
Amazing.
Not like right away, but like, you know, it's not the first idea, the second idea. We've had a few that maybe we struggled with, but I wouldn't say 20 choruses ever. I think the dynamic, I'm going to let you talk, don't worry. I think it's the dynamic that we still, it kind of changes from song to song. Like, who's taking the lead? Because if
Interesting. Is that like, you hear the material and then you're like, it's the first person that has that like creative jump that takes the lead on it? Or is it like a predetermined, this is your track, this is my track?
No, it's spur of the moment. Like, because we have our schedules and our lives and we do things, and, you know, maybe we have a song and I'm really busy that week and Robbie isn't busy and he's like, you know what, I'm going to take a look at this song.
So interesting. You guys write separately.
To start. This is
Very
why
cool.
I said it depends who takes the lead. So say there's a song and he takes the lead and he's feeling really inspired and he writes the whole fucking thing and he writes a chorus, you know, and verses or whatever. He'll give me the song and naturally I'll have some changes I want to do. Sometimes the changes are like nothing, like the chorus of Fools Tomorrow. Like I sang the melody, but nothing changed in his lyrics and like the placement. I was like, this is perfect, you know?
Amazing.
But sometimes he'll write a chorus or a verse for me and I'll be like, it's not vibing the way I want it to. So that's where, you know, I scratch it and I go back and I write something completely new. But even when that happens, it hasn't been hard. It hasn't been like, oh, now I'm in a box, I don't know what to do. And vice versa, if I've ever taken the lead on a song, I don't think it's been hard at all. I'm like, here, I left you a part, write a rap verse, and he comes up with it right away. Like, yeah.
Usually my writing process is like I'll take an instrumental, like from anybody I've ever worked with, like especially Branislav. He's an incredible songwriter, so I love working with all his music. It's amazing, like it just clicks. So when I do sit down, like it might be sitting there for months, and then I'll just like take a night, like if tonight was the night I'm going to work on a song, I'll sit with it and I write the parts that I think fit either for myself or for Vicky. But going back to our Kings Today and Fools Tomorrow material, it's been old and it was sitting. And so this was written a few years back.
It's crazy.
And like Vicky mentioned, she was doing like music full time and she was really busy with the Agonist. So for that reason, these particular songs, I may have taken the lead a bit more overall. And there was a few songs that Vicky just wrote entirely herself, like, and it would be like I'd write it on my own time, and then like Vicky said, like I'd show it to her, present it to her. If she liked the ideas, she'd keep them. If things needed work, she'd change it. And then at the same time, there's a lot of songs like Feed Them to the Wolves, our latest single that just dropped. That was a song I wrote the verses for, and the intro vocals where we're screaming at each other. And then I hit a wall. I didn't know what to do for the chorus, and I didn't know what to do for the bridge section because I felt it was like singing based. And sometimes I'll have ideas for singing vocals, but for this song, whatever reason, I just hit a wall and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, just take it, do something with it. I actually didn't even like the song, matter of fact. I didn't even like it after my verses I put on it. I'm just like, this is a whatever song. I don't care about it.
And it was so weird for me because up until that point, Robbie's the type where he writes a song and he's so enthusiastic and he's like, best song ever, even if it's not, you know, it's that moment of like, I wrote a song. And he was like not confident about it. And I'm like, remembering the instrumental and how strong it was, I was like, how is this possible? Because I get it if like the instrumental feels a little weak, you're feeling uninspired. And I check his verses and I'm like, this is great, what are you talking about? And then on the spot, you know, I just fed off of, pun intended, I guess, what he had written, and the chorus like came right away that day. And then I think a different day I sat with the bridge a little longer and wrote my own part. But it was actually that song at the time that made me realize too that our best songs are written when we collaborate.
I think it would be important, since you're the front people of the band. It should be a much more collaborative effort.
Yeah.
The concept, the meaning, what is going on with Sicksense? What do you want to say to people? For Cryptopsy, it's extreme, it's bothersome, uncomfortable. What is going on with Sicksense? What is the identity of the band?
We're very much positive band. I'd like to say our message is a positive one, and we just want to have honest conversations with people, and we want to touch upon lyrical themes that are about real life, real stuff. Like, you all go through various emotions. Like, you could be happy one day, sad about something else, depressed, and that's fine. But our mission is like, don't stay depressed. Like, be depressed, go through your emotions, but get out of it. Pull yourself out of it. Find other people around you who believe in you, who will support you and give you that support system to live your life to the fullest. And that's what we're about.
Yeah, I think the nostalgia factor too with like new metal, how I was right at the prime of it. I was like 14, 15, 16 teenage years when it was at the height of it. And it was the genre that got me into like more extreme stuff for sure later on. And, when you're a teenager, every teenager feels like their life fucking sucks, and like nobody gets them. And like, I'm an outcast. My own parents don't understand, like, edgy. But I think the nostalgia factor of like doing this style of music brought that like memory to me of how it made me feel when I discovered the bands that were doing it, and it made me feel good and positive and better, and it gave me like ambitions and dreams for the future. So it's like, if you're gonna do this genre of music, you should follow that sentiment. And because I think it's a really pretty easy genre of like metal to listen to the point where like some purists say like this isn't even metal.
It's very like acceptable. It's not Cryptopsy.
Yes.
It's not bothersome.
Yeah.
You can understand it whether it's the first time you've heard metal or not.
Yeah.
And it's very cathartic.
Exactly.
It's the word that the vibe that I'm understanding. You're providing a catharsis for people that are going through some shit.
Yeah, and I think the accessibility of the genre and the bands that play this style of music is really cool, because it's like you're not always targeting metal and rock fans. You could
That's right.
any random person that just listens to pop or whatever's on the radio. They'll hear the song and be like, oh, this is cool. They won't be like, oh, what the heck is that? Like with extreme music where it takes some time to get into. So
why is he screaming all the time?
He's angry.
This isn't singing.
Why is he so angry?
Yeah.
His throat must hurt.
Yeah.
Working together, I would like to hear about the benefits, the good things. A couple. I love my wife. We work on the podcast together. There's a lot of amazing exchanges that happens. What are the positive things that have happened since you've been collaborating? You were already collaborating. It's probably actually started around the same time because I know you guys so well. The Sound Escape agency is something that you guys run. You do merch, you do management, a label at this point. You're very, very busy. And Sicksense sort of almost started around the same time. So working together outside of the marriage, outside of just your personal relationship, in a musical endeavor, what are the best things that have come of that?
I would say the key to doing this, like being a married couple or like being in any relationship, is putting your ego aside. I think if you can humble yourself and learn to work with each other's strengths and contemplate each other, you'll make things happen. It's like if like with the songwriting process, it's like, okay, I'm a rapper, I'm a screamer, I got these storytelling ideas, let's write a song together, but I know I can't sing, so here's my singing melody ideas. You are a proper singer, what can you do with it? And then it's like she takes the wheel. Or like Vicky will come up with a song, she'll write her singing verses or screaming, whatever she does. She's like the female Mike Patton. She could do it all. So she'll do that, and then she'll give me the track and then be like, I just need a verse from you. What do you got? And I'll be like, okay, here it is. Boom, and I drop it. So
you're like a superhuman. I love it.
I think the beauty of working with your spouse is the comfort that comes with it. Because like being in a band, sometimes you establish this relationship where everyone's super close. Obviously, like it's like a family, and like nice. It's like a family, and you're probably a bit more comfortable than you'd be with regular friends, because you go through a lot with your bandmates, touring and all that. But there's always some kind of barrier, you know, because at the end of the day, you aren't actually married. You don't live together. You know, there is that barrier that when you're songwriting, sometimes you gotta like, okay, how do I phrase this? How do I say to someone like, maybe we can make this better without hurting their feelings, without bruising their ego? Exactly. When you're with your spouse, that's gone. You know, like I could straight up tell Robbie like,
that
this
sucks.
fucking sucks. Yeah, and he'll get mad for a second, and then he'll sit with it and be like, maybe she's right, or maybe he'll be like, okay, do something better, you know, and then it's like challenge accepted.
Yeah, it just comes down to any relationship that's the best is honest ones.
Exactly.
It's honesty. Like when you have that where it's like there's no filter, you can just tell it like it is. That's when the best music will come out and the best business decisions will come out because you can talk honestly with each other.
And you know that you have the same goal. Like the goal at the end of the day is we want to do the best thing we can do. And the way to achieve that isn't my way or your way. It's the best way. Sometimes it might be my way. Sometimes it's yours. Sometimes it's in the middle. But we're going to have to butt heads and get past that knowing that we have the same goal in mind.
Now, obviously, you knew this one was coming. What are the worst parts of being in a band with your spouse?
This hasn't happened yet because we haven't toured. But
you have toured together recently, though, with the Agonist.
Yes, but it's a different dynamic because, you know, we're not both on stage. But
I'm the crew guy.
I can imagine this being challenging maybe in that it's no longer just you and I, but other people that are in the band and the crew. And maybe that
they're going to choose sides?
There's that. Like, yes. Like don't...
Any future Sicksense members, don't fucking choose sides.
Like, okay, so it hasn't happened with us, but I've heard stories of it happening where couples are just like a little too comfortable and they just start arguing like in front of people and people are uncomfortable, you know, so that
back lounge. You do it in the back lounge.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but if it does, we're just going to have to advise our bandmates that, look, everybody fights. Let's move on. We're just a little more comfortable. That's all.
God damn. Let's talk about the bear in the room. At what point did a bear, Deli the bear, become an emblem, become such an important part of the identity of Sicksense? Obviously, there was that video, but where did this all come from? The idea, why a bear, and yeah.
It didn't have to be a bear. We just wanted some sort of mascot figure to have that elephant in the room for our Kings Today video, and we thought it was honestly just going to be a one and done. Like, he was just going to appear in that video, and that would be that. But he had such a positive reaction to it, so we were like thinking, like, well, why don't we just keep him along and like make him something more? So he's actually part of our Sicksense lore. He is the band. And like we have this whole story behind him where he's the one who created the band. He brought us all together. He's our manager. He directs all our videos, comes up with all the concepts, runs our social media. He's responding to all our fans online. And yeah, it's this great thing where it's like, it's this dynamic of like, imagine if you can be interacting with Eddie of Iron Maiden on social media back in the day when like Iron Maiden was at their prime.
Does Deli the Bear have an Instagram account?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. I like that. That's cool. Smart. Black Dahlia Murder has the monkey.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's multiple people that have played the monkey. When you guys eventually tour, I'm very close to you guys, so I know the real Deli the Bear.
Yes.
He might not be able to be there. So are you going to replace Deli the Bear with another human?
Yeah, so this is interesting you're bringing this up. I was talking to, I think I did another interview last week, and somebody asked something similar. And I was just saying that, like, I would love for this band to grow. Anyone wants their band to grow, right? But not just for myself, not for my ego to be like, hey, I'm a headliner, I'm playing to, like, thousands of people. But I was just thinking about all the people that have helped us along the way, you know, and Deli and Chris Kells that does our videos and Donaldson that mixes our songs, where it's just like the work you did, it hasn't been in vain. Like, here's a bigger picture, a bigger opportunity. Because, like, you know, sometimes, honestly, being in this business, it's just about money, right? Sometimes where you're like, oh, I can't do that. But then you're like, boom, here's a big fat paycheck. Now can you do it?
Basically, yeah.
All the problems go away. So it's like, I want this band to succeed, not just for us and our music, but for everybody involved. But that's the sentiment. It's like, if we do good, you do good, you know?
I'd be stoked about it. I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
I like the mascot idea. It's stuff, you know, Iron Maiden did pretty well with Eddie. Black Dahlia are doing pretty well with the gorilla on stage. I think it's pretty cool. I tried to get Ollie in the gorilla suit when Black Dahlia came through town, and the guy that was the gorilla was not having it.
Yes, the statutory ape. That's actually kind of where I got the idea. Actually, because I'm a huge The Black Dahlia Murder fan, and I love that they'd have the monkey come out on stage
It's just a party. Like, as soon as he steps out, he's the most... It's like Necrogoblicon with John. Second elephant in the room, the Agonist just called it quits.
Yeah.
Sort of out of nowhere, sort of not out of nowhere. Here you are, launching a new band. It's not new. You've been doing it for 4 years. You've had the material. Talk to me about launching something new and the challenges and the reception so far and the scariness of it.
Yeah, so I totally get that. That in terms of like people that aren't in the band, when a band announces like a breakup or a hiatus or anything that's like sad news, people that aren't in the band always feel like it's coming from nowhere, especially if the band never like airs their dirty laundry, you know, or any unfortunate things. If
Are
they
we
keep
allowed
it,
to do that?
I don't know.
No, I'm joking.
I mean,
No.
some bands do it, but in my opinion, like, you should always keep it professional. Like, it doesn't look good when people, and a lot of bands do this, just fight on the internet. But so from a third-person perspective, I could get how it seems sudden, but obviously it wasn't. And when we made this decision, we didn't know when we were going to announce it. And my biggest concern was, you know, we had already planned the Sicksense release, as you know how the industry is, months, even years in advance, that like this is happening then. And my biggest concern was like, if I announce in the middle of this release cycle that the band that most people know me from, that I've been in for like 9 years so far, is ending, are people going to jump to the conclusion that it ended because I'm in another band? Because people always want someone to blame. And at the same time, though, it's like we put out our first song with Sicksense in 2021, Make Believe, and the first thing that people said were like, what's happening with the Agonist? Right away, because the idea of you being in multiple bands is weird for a lot of people.
They feel threatened.
Yeah.
As if you're in a relationship with them and you're cheating on them.
They also seem to think that being in a band is like your bread and butter.
Yeah.
And like
so
the
easy.
rock star life. Yeah, and that's not it at all. And like I said earlier, I've been a full-time musician. My other band members in the Agonist are not. They have day jobs. So I found myself, like when the Sicksense thing was starting, that was the reason why I was like, yeah, let's do it, because I can't, you know, if I have free time, I can't sit around and wait for other people's schedules. But I was always professional and always respectful, and I always, like, there were deadlines to meet. I always met them because I was full-time. So at the time when we put out Make Believe and fans were concerned, I was like, no, this is just another band I'm launching. The Agonist is cool.
It's another part of your personality. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You're allowed to be multifaceted and have multiple projects. And
Yeah. And plus,
maybe the Agonist fans are particularly sensitive because when Elisa started doing other projects is when she stepped away.
Right, so you're like, oh, repeated cycle. But the funny thing about the timing of that was that the Agonist was literally releasing the days before the World Wept EP, like 1 month later.
Yeah, exactly.
So my response at the time was like, why are you guys worried? We have an EP coming out like next month. This time around, however, people were asking again, and I was evading because I'm like, I don't want to lie, but at the same time, I don't want to say something that might give them ideas. I didn't know when we were going to announce it. And then things just like escalated. People kept asking. I'm sure not just me, but like Simon told me he went to that Black Dahlia show and everyone was asking him, you know, like,
what's going on?
What's going on?
What's going on? What's the next show? When's the next tour?
Yeah. And it just got increasingly difficult when you're honest. You're like, I don't want to lie and pretend everything's good. So we're like, the week before the announcement, we're like, let's just announce it. And I was like, I have a new single coming out 2 days later. Great.
It was a little bit beneficial for you guys. I will be honest, because in every press release, it said that you were doing new music with Sicksense.
Yeah.
So that worked in your favor.
Yeah.
It's an excellent way to launch a band, but it was not premeditatively planned that way.
Yeah.
But it was a happy circumstance.
It was, and I didn't...
Because you had massive views on some of those videos.
Yeah. It was multiple factors, which I'll explain. But yeah, I couldn't... My main worry was I didn't know how people were going to take it. And it was so overwhelmingly positive, and people were just happy that I had something else. But the thing that like kind of, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised that I'm like, Sicksense has been here for a year and a half. We already put out an EP, but now that I announced that the Agonist is no more, now you're gonna go check it out? Because people were like, I guess when I first announced it, they thought of it as a side project, as like a studio, whatever thing. But now it became serious. It's like, wait, this is the only thing that Vicky has in terms of like original music. And they went and checked out Sicksense, whereas they were following me, you know, a year or 2 years ago, and they just didn't make the time and effort. And it's really interesting how a lot of these people were like, I don't know why I didn't check this out sooner.
Exactly, yeah. What was your whole take on the Agonist? You're so close to all of them. You're so close to Vicky, obviously. I am also very close to the Agonist. I jammed with them before Elisa was ever even a part of the band. I've been friends with them forever. I don't believe it's the end. That's all I'm going to say. What is your opinion?
Yeah, no. It was sad. And like for those who don't know, I was very close with the Agonist. Obviously, I'm married to Vicky, but behind the scenes, I did a lot for them as well. Like I was their merch guy, helping out with Vicky and I's business Soundscape agency. We took care of the Agonist's merch. We did their Days Before the World Wept EP launch. I went on their last 2 tours, their final 2 tours. I was there doing the merch for them. On the U.S. run, I was driving. I was their RV driver. Did all the overnight drives for them. Then woke up the next day and set up the merch for them. And then I went to Europe with them for 2 long months. And it's sad, but you know, at the end of the day, it's like if you're going to be doing music, all your hearts need to be in it. And it's like if you need to take a break, just hit the brakes. It's better to hit the brakes now than to start hating each other and it ends entirely. At least now it's like just take a breather. You know, if you're starting families or you want to do other projects, explore that. Let your kids grow up a little more, and then maybe one day the timing will be right.
Also, to add to this, because I didn't say it myself, but, you know, obviously before we came to that decision with the Agonist, there were different options on the table. You know, there were like, maybe we could do this or that or that. And a few people in the band wanted to just announce a hiatus. But in my opinion, I didn't want to do that because it's like giving people hope that may be false. Because you announce a hiatus, you're basically promising that it's going to come back. And at that time where we were all talking and trying to make a decision, I'm like, I don't have any guarantee. Nobody in the band had any guarantee that like it would come back. And the last thing I want to do is give our fans, people that have supported us since the very beginning, this like false hope that it'll come back, and then it just fades into nothing. So I'm like, this is where we are right now. Let's just pull the trigger. And if something changes in the future, people will be happy. We'll be happy. They'll be happy. But I think it was a really hard thing to do, obviously, but I think it was a very courageous thing to do. Because I see a lot of bands don't even announce a hiatus. They just kind of disappear. Yeah,
fade away.
Disappear, they fade away, they don't ever put out anything, or maybe like 7 years later, here's a new album. And I think the reason for that is that they're not strong enough. They don't have that courage to be like, this is the hard thing to do, but I'm not going to like leave people in the dark and have them guessing and wanting more. I'm just going to tell them what's going on. And I don't see a lot of bands do that, but I know that a lot of bands are at that level and feel that way. They just can't pull that trigger because it's like I said, it's kind of like hoarder mentality, where you're like, you don't need these things, but you keep them in your house because one day you might need them. And that's how they treat their band. It's like, I'm not announcing that we're over because maybe one day I'm going to want to do something with this band. And I think that if you have a certain name and a legacy and a contribution to the scene, that's like tainting the name in a way. Like no band deserves that, you know, to just be shelved on a corner and maybe one day I'll do this again. So yeah, I wish more bands had, you know, the balls to pull the trigger.
I think if you come back from a hiatus versus coming back from a breakup, you'll get paid a lot more too. So
I mean, you're not wrong.
back to the question I had for you before is, let's say now a lot of bands are going to consider you as being available.
Yeah.
No disrespect to you. It's a Vicky question. You could get hired for not your strengths. They bring you in just to be a screamer, hypothetically.
Right.
Which is my question from before, like, because people see you as being a hook master, excellent clean vocalist. You're a great screamer, but your main strengths are your cleans and your writing style. So imagine like a band hires you just to do harsh vocals.
Yeah.
How would you feel about that? Is that something you would consider? Is it something that would speak to you? Being taken into a band for not your strengths?
It depends on the band and the music, and it depends, like, am I being asked to join just as a tour, as like a temporary member, or as a permanent member? For anything permanent right now, it would be really difficult for me to just say yes. Like, it has to be like, I listen to the music and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? You know, I need to do this. Because I pretty much decided a few years ago that, like, if I'm going to create any original music or be a part of any band or project, it has to speak to me. And if it doesn't deserve any of my time. And so that answers, I guess, the permanent side of things. So I would be willing if the music was like otherworldly and I was like, oh, holy crap, you know? But for temporary stuff, for like touring, fill-in stuff, I would consider it because it does come with a paycheck. Like, I don't know any professional band that would bring a hired musician on tour and not pay them. So I would consider it if it's like a band that I do like their music, that maybe is completely different from, you know, Sicksense. And I could see myself having fun on tour, or even if it's just for an album or something. I'd consider temporary paid gig over anything permanent, basically.
Something that I love is talking about mental health. We touched on it just a little bit before. You touched on it just now about the end of the Agonist for the best of the band, for everyone. I think it's important to talk about mental health, to talk about what you guys do when you're not feeling well. I saw, like, we're good friends, so I noticed an absence. You moved, which is in your favor of this question. Not in your favor, but explains a little bit of it. But on social media, you were gone for a long time. How do you deal with mental health? What do you do to make yourselves feel better? You use music. You want Sicksense to be a cathartic release. Robby was saying, talk to me about mental health and how you guys approach it and how you guys make yourselves get out of the darkness.
Well, I have a lot to say about this, actually, I think. But you could have a lot to say about it, but it's tricky to make it succinct and easily understandable. But I'd like to think that the key to mental health is just keeping yourself busy and actually living a life of giving to others. If you're creating opportunities for yourself and other people around you, and that's bringing people up along the way, you'll start feeling fulfilled. It's kind of a selfish thing. It's like, well, I'm going to make other people feel better so I can start feeling better. But keeping busy and like exercising properly, like taking time away from the work. It's like great to like have a workload and a busy schedule, but you also have to like, okay, it's okay to take 5 minutes to just meditate, just sit outside, like breathe some air. Take it easy and then get back to it.
Organized breaks too.
Schedule yourself. I always make lists, and Vicky
I hate lists.
I drive Vicky nuts with that.
I'm a mental list person, but
so I personally think, you know, obviously I have my own mental health issues. Everybody does, but I just think, as maybe a lot of people disagree with me here, but I think there's too much emphasis placed on mental health sometimes. In a way that, like, you start thinking, like, maybe I'm depressed. You have a bad day or a bad week, and you start thinking, man, my life sucks, I'm depressed. But it's like, maybe you're just...
The spiral.
Yeah, and then it spirals, and then you start thinking, like, all these depressing things, and you basically start overthinking when it's just like, you know, Robbie says this a lot. It's like, you don't have a bad life, you're having a bad day, not a bad life, you know. I think the key with mental health sometimes is realizing that you can't always be happy. Life is full of up and downs, and you have to be willing to do the things in life that aren't the things you always want to do. Because think about it. It's like you enjoy drinking craft beers. Other people may enjoy eating cheeseburgers. But if all you did in life, you wake up every morning, drink craft beers, eat cheeseburgers.
You're missing out on a lot of other things.
Don't tell them my secrets.
But you know, one day you're going to wake up, you're an alcoholic, you're obese, and you're depressed. So it's like, I think your lifestyle needs to be filled with things that you enjoy doing, but things you don't enjoy doing that are essential. Like, I don't know a lot of people that love cleaning their house. You know, who's like, I wake up and I'm like, man, I can't wait to clean my house.
I'm that person, but...
Very few people.
Me too.
I love it.
Very few people, though. But it's like, clean your house. You'll feel better afterwards. And exercise. I don't know a lot of people that really enjoy exercising. They enjoy the benefits. They enjoy how it feels afterwards.
It's true.
But you do it long enough, it becomes a habit. You fall in love with it. So I just think the key to mental health is realizing you can't always be happy. You can't always just do the things that you want to do that bring you this happiness, this euphoria. Sometimes you got to do the work that sucks and just keep that balance. When you're done with the work that sucks, now it's like, now I'll have a craft beer, you know?
I have something to add to that too. It's like really like what your environment is makes you think and feel a certain way. You are what you consume. So if you're always listening to like music that's like has like this negative programming and messaging to it, it's okay in doses. But if you're always surrounding yourself with like these sad, oh, my girlfriend broke up with me lyrics, instead of taking charge of your life lyrics, it gets to you. And like I was like that when I was growing up, listening to some of the bands I listened to. It was like these emo pop punk bands that had these catchy choruses stuck in my head, but it's like they're always pining for like an ex-girlfriend of some sort, and it's like, and now some of these bands are in their 40s and 50s even, and they're still pining about it. It's like, get over it. You need to grow up, evolve from that, you know, and that's what I always want to be about.
But then, Robbie, you discovered Hatebreed.
Yes.
The PMA.
And it was all good.
There we go. More Hatebreed. Less sad boy music.
One last question. We're going to keep hanging out after this. People should have been here. They should come and hang out with us at La Maga Boire. You know, come on, people. Sicksense are going to destroy Turbo House, which is like literally across the street from here. 2 nights, a Friday and a Saturday. I'm going to be on the Saturday. I will record the outro after this, so I'll let you know what my experience is in the outro.
Oh, great.
But I want to ask, I'm doing a new segment called Fight the Hops, where I ask my guests a short-term goal, something they're working on right now that they hope to achieve within the next month. 2 months, it could be a personal thing, it could be a business thing, it could be a mental thing, health thing. What are you guys doing right now to fight the hops?
I'm really excited to get these shows over with. Not that I won't enjoy them, but I'm always like thinking ahead. When something's planned for me, I'm like, okay, it's planned, this is happening, I'm over it already. Let's just do it.
You're going to enjoy it in the moment, but you're not sitting there before the event being like, you know?
And that being said, I'm super excited to work on the new Sicksense songs. I'm really excited for that. That's what's coming up for us right after these shows.
Yeah.
I want to bring the rest of the boys over from Canada down to Arizona and just have good times and good vibes with them. And like,
we want to write so we've written a few demos already.
Like Branislav, Vox&Hops alumni, and you guys, or you guys on your side, or everyone involved there?
Everyone involved. We want Bran and Sam down there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we've already written a few demos, but, you know, they don't sound good. You know, it's that home studio quality. But we want to step it up from what we did for the first 2 EPs. And Bran's like that too. He writes a song and sometimes he records, let's say, guitar in a place that he doesn't want guitar on the final version, but he has a guitar, so that's his like tool to express that. So that might be like replaced by bass or synth or something else. So I think we all at this point are comfortable and love the creative process so much, and we're pretty old school. So So we've just been sitting with the guys and we've been like, man, you guys should just come down and we write it together. Like, we have a starting point, but let's really see what we can do to transform these songs, you know. So we're working on that. They're taking some time off work and coming down. And also Sicksense related, I want to see if we can find, I don't know, management or a booking agent or a record label, just other people in the industry, because so far we're independent, that also believe in what we're doing and want to assist. And, you know, we're not going to take the first deal on the table. So it has to feel genuine, and it has to feel that whoever wants to work with us loves the music and sees the vision. So it might not happen in the next month or two, because, you know.
Those are good goals to fight the hops. Vicky, Robby, thank you so much for hanging out with me, talking about life, talking about music, talking about craft beer at La Mer à Boire. This has been amazing. We're going to keep hanging out, but not with you guys listening. Cheers. Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. Man, this was awesome conversation. I love doing face-to-face interviews. Is how the podcast started. It just feels right. It feels so natural. The ambience, the noise at La Mer à Boire, one of my favorite watering holes here in Montreal on St. Denis Street. Just the vibe, the ambience, the killer craft beers. We actually got a tour of the facilities after we wrapped up this interview. They were far too kind to us. Massive thanks to the La Mer à Boire crew for being so cool. Sicksense, very cool. I had a great time at their gig. I went on the Saturday night when Deli the Bear was there. It was just so goddamn cool to watch this new project blossom, to be there with a bunch of old friends, people that are all supporting this new project, Sicksense. I think it's so goddamn cool. I can't wait to see where this goes. Massive thanks to Vicky and Robby for sitting down with me. I truly appreciate your time. Now, if you enjoyed this Vox and Hops episode, you should sign up to the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast mailing list. You can do that on my website, voxandhops.com. That's VOXANDHOPS.com. And when you do that, you shall receive one email a week that contains all of the details of everything that has happened recently in the world of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. You'll get to see which episodes I dropped recently. You will get to see which episodes I have coming up. You will get to hear about any projects I have in the works before I announce them to the public. And you will also get to see which albums the Vox and Hops album review crew have reviewed recently, and which albums Jerry Monk, Vox and Hops' metal architect himself, has added to the Brutal Awakenings playlist. I don't know how he does it, but Jerry always finds the best new music, puts it on the Brutal Awakenings playlist for all of us to enjoy. Now, there's always a lot of things going on in the world of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, and I hate when you miss a single thing, so please do me a favor and sign up to the mailing list. The Vox and Hops Metal Podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope you have a killer rest of the week. I will be back next week with a very special 420. That's right, episode 420, and I had to get just the perfect guest for that, but I'm going to keep it a bit of a secret. You got to tune in to find out. So until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.